Local and international newspaper headlines for the day with in-depth analysis from seasoned professionals. Start your day the right way on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Nigeria Info.
Welcome to the show. It's 99.3 Nigeria Info. I told you I'll be back to look at stories on the front pages, and hey, that's the time right now. You can watch us in the studio if you go over to Facebook. That's Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3. You can also reach us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. If you want to watch live on YouTube, that's also Nigeria Info 99.3. And we're doing this for the next, 25 minutes, running you through the headlines across all the dailies today. Welcome to the show. I'm Wemimo Adewuni, and Bola Olojade joins me this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Wemimo. Good morning, Lagos.
The first story today, I find it pretty interesting. Let's start with the Daily Independent. Federal government scores discos low, may review privatization, says electricity companies fleecing Nigerians rather. It's also on the Vanguard. Discos have failed in power supply. Federal government says mulls reversal of privatization. This story is also here on The Nation. It's the biggest story. Discos licenses likely for revocation over poor power. Problem of electricity supply is distribution. Minister says FEC to decide firm's fate. Well, the story is across different papers today. The leadership also has it. Ahead of April 1st new tariff takeoff, federal government withdraws electricity subsidy. Also, biggest story on the Daily Sun. Government descends on discos, stops subsidy, brands them failures to decide their fate soon. Blueprint newspaper, sit up or get sacked. Federal government tells discos pretty tough talk.
Well, it's not just about tough talk. We have to walk the talk and walk it in a way that will work for the society. Look at some of the statements being put out there. That discos are the sole problem. I don't think they are the only problem. It says a problem. It's not just discos that are the problem. If we generate 13,000 megawatts, but we're able to transmit only 7,000, that is not disco. Now, from the 7,000 we're able to transmit, the discos are able to distribute only 3,000. From the 3,000, they're able to pay for only 15% of that goes up the chain. So it's a whole mess. And it's across the entire value chain of the problem.
So if we're planning to reverse privatization, is the government planning to, take this over again?
I am not sure that reversing the privatization is the way to go. Rather, I think what we need to do is assess where we are, and the private discos that we think are unable to meet what we desire, then those are the people we change. But otherwise,
when we had, I remember when we had this conversation last year, we had Sam Amadi here.
Okay.
It was NERC bus then, and one of the things he underscored was the process of choosing who got what was faulty.
It was
from start. It was obvious that these discos were never going to perform. So if we gave them the platform, knowing they were not going to perform, do we have a right to complain?
Well, we don't even know what the exit clauses in some of these things are, But apart from that, look. Going back to Egypt cannot be the way forward. We can assess those that are. There have been discos that have walked off from this transaction by themselves now. They took it over, they couldn't run it, and they walk away from it.
So can the government do it better if they take it back up?
No. It would be to re-privatize it. Where we have to be careful is that those notions of re-privatizing these discos should not be an attempt to just let them change owners, change hands.
And names.
From the people that somebody liked to some people that some new person liked. If that is the focus, we're going to miss it big time, because that could happen. So they were done by somebody. He brought his own people. He gave it to them. So I want to do my own now.
And favor my own people.
If that is the issue, if we allow that to happen, it will fail again, all over again.
We're going to have a big mess.
So we should look through the entire value chain, assess discos that are doing fairly okay. It's not as if you don't have a guarantee today that the new one you're going to bring, how they will perform.
If the structure is the same.
Yes.
I mean.
So apparently, capacity to invest has not been there. That is why transmission will be able to transmit 7,000, and the discos cannot distribute more than 3,000. There is definitely capacity problem. So investments are not coming. Why are the investments not coming? It's a big question. And if we don't address that question, we won't be able to solve this problem. So the other part is the fact that investments are not coming. We are giving out subsidies. Why are we giving out subsidies? We said we privatize, right?
And then you're subsidizing.
In spite of your subsidy, you are not achieving the result.
So if we pull out the subsidy, does it make them work harder, or
do
we get more electricity?
It will now become an issue of tariff again. So it's fairly more complex than the minister is making it sound. But it's also not brain surgery. Power has been provided all across the world in even smaller nations. There is no big deal. We just need to have the right level of will to do the right thing.
How about shattering this thing we call the national grid and allow states generate?
Now you're bringing more of the issues. Those are part of the issues. That's what we should be
talking about. Let them generate, let them transmit, let them do everything.
It's part of the issue. It's not just
we don't want to talk about that, but we want to talk about the discos. All right. This story though, I mentioned this on the news this morning. 63 persons under surveillance as Lassa fever hits Lagos. Hey, it's now here. It's also the leadership newspaper. That first one was from the Vanguard. Lassa fever death toll rises to 103. 63 under surveillance in Lagos. It's also in the Nation. 63 on the watch as Lassa fever enters Lagos. Death toll now 103. According to report, a guy who had come in for law school from Ebonyi had been sick. He was admitted at the clinic there. Taken to another hospital, wasn't feeling better, and then it's now at Luth. And it's positive for Lassa fever.
He has been isolated.
He's been isolated.
But the further steps being taken is to ensure that all the points of contact, that you can also monitor those people, because if any of them should show symptoms, we need to deal with it immediately. But they are not quarantined for now. They're just watching them. They're just watching them. And I believe they will have spoken with them. If you feel this way, please let us know.
I'm just worried that we might have more than 63 people. Remember, law school just resumed recently. The buzz of registration going on. I don't know exactly when he fell ill, but I think they would have traced that.
I also think that people who will have had contact with him, it behoves on them, even if you're not.
They might not know him. I mean, they're all just converging. So, and he probably came in a bus. From Ebonyi. We don't know where those people are.
Those people in that same bus, even from the Ebonyi end, because we most likely has contacted it.
Yes, and it would have. So are we speaking with the Ebonyi state government to, try to?
I want to believe so, that where he came from will have been contacted. He live in a home with some people, So it's a very tricky situation. The war against diseases has become even bigger than what is going. If you look at coronavirus, it's bigger than Syria in terms of casualties per month.
I'm smiling because you remind me of our chit-chat this morning, because the EFCC chairman said coronavirus is caused by corruption.
I don't know about that.
We tried explaining that on the chit-chat today. I got different theories. Okay, let me just leave it at that. If you miss the chit-chat, you miss a lot. People put up a lot of theories to try to explain what he meant. But that's it, the update with the Lassa fever there. Let's go to the National Assembly. President says here on the Punch newspaper, it's wrong to think National Assembly members are overpaid. That's coming from the president. Similar to this is the story from the Daily Independent. How reps dumped local content policy for 5 billion naira Toyota cars. We had this conversation on the chit-chat a while ago. It was pretty. Also here on the Daily Trust, Buhari to lawmakers. Nigerians say you are overpaid. They say you are overpaid.
It's a very funny scenario. The question that that conversation did not answer is, so why do Nigerians feel so? Why are Nigerians not feeling that the directors in the civil service are overpaid? Why are they not feeling? So there must be a reason. It wasn't just pulled out of the out from under the hat. So Nigerians are feeling that way because they've heard the numbers, and they also feel that in spite of those numbers, they are not getting the value for what is going on. As simple as that. So if you had important bills, look at PIB. It's been there for more than a decade. Electoral bill, all sort of bills are there.
I mean, this new the Ninth Assembly again said, okay, before we leave, we'll pass the PIB. I mean, we just keep kicking it around.
It's been there since, I think, Yaradua. Yeah. So these are what Nigerians are saying. And we see the members, parade obscene wealth with luxurious cars in the sitting room and all those kind of things. That, so when you have members, just picture it, that you will get online and see a British parliamentarian displaying his collection of cars and making a video of that and putting it on the social media. And
one was just up recently. Senator Dino Melai.
Okay.
I saw this on social media where he stood in front of his many luxurious cars and said some like womanizing, some like homosexuality, but he loves cars. And if you look at the range of cars, those were cars.
So you now said, Nigeria said they are overpaid. Why won't Nigeria say they are overpaid? Is that lawmaking? Why is it that in countries where we copy this from, you can't get members of the assembly doing that? It's ridiculous.
They're as modest as every other citizen.
As every other citizen. Rather, you see, the British Parliament is even very interesting.
No, those ones are. I remember.
You see members get on bicycle and ride up from.
Someone tackled the speaker. That tackled him and said, "You when you were driving your car, you had a sticker." Someone dragged him on the kind of sticker and said, "No, it's not my car. It was my wife's car." Yeah. So most of them come into the assembly with bicycles. You see them riding with every other person. But hey, this is Nigeria.
Mr. President, those are the things we see, and that made the people believe that they are overpaid and that we're not getting value for the job. So maybe if you help us speak to them to address those matters, we may be able to start accepting with you that they're not overpaid.
The argument we had on the Toyota cars when the lawmakers said they didn't want vehicles made in Nigeria, they wanted to import. So I put up an argument on the show that day. People almost had my neck for it. They say, okay, so they have a choice now. It's not compulsory. Do we say...
For real?
Do we say because it's... wait, fair. You coming for me too? How many Nigerians have bought locally made cars? And unless we do make a law that particularly says that every government official must use Nigerian-made cars, then
it doesn't have to also
many
be
of these
law.
companies have assembly plants in Nigeria, Toyota inclusive. So if they're employing Nigerians, if they have companies here,
is Toyota manufacturing in Nigeria?
Is anybody manufacturing in Nigeria?
I think Sin is assembling. There are a few people that are doing some assembling.
Most of them are doing assembling.
But you see, patriotism comes into play. In my opinion, is I have seen public the cars that are assigned to public sector in some other parts of the world. In the part where I live in America, for example, a police vehicle will not be a Toyota. It's like it has to be an American manufactured vehicle. As simple as that. If you see a Tata in Lagos, go and look at the person that is sitting inside that Tata. It will be an Indian man. There's something about buying your own.
How many Nigerians have bought our own?
Let's even start from the public sector, from the people that we're using taxpayers' money to buy these cars for. Let's start from there. If you want them to improve the design, the engineering, and all of that. Imagine that you are giving them 10,000 vehicles from the public wallet in a particular year and find out whether they will improve that quality and design within a short period.
And some of them might even reduce the cost, the ones that are able to produce more and sell more.
Once they're able to produce and sell more, the price will go down, the design, the engineering, everything about those vehicles will become improved.
The lawmakers have said, no, we're not interested. we don't want. We know what we want.
It's only for you and I. Buying Nigeria is for you and I.
Yeah, right. So let's move on and see this next story here. A very sad story it is. How Aso Rock director Nankang was murdered. This story has been in the news for like 2 days now, but we have more details. That's from the Vanguard. It's also on the Daily Trust. State House director was killed after raising alarm. This story is also on the Blueprint. Suspected killer of Aso Rock director Dagan arrested. On the front page also of, let's see, where do I have his story again? There's one that said...
Vanguard has it.
That said was Yahoo Boys.
Yes, Vanguard has it in that way.
No, I've read the Vanguard. Gosh, so I was really shocked, and when I saw Yahoo Boys, dealt with, but one. I think
why will it be Yahoo Boys?
Yeah,
is that part of Yahoo? Yahoo are internet fraudsters, from what we know, and if Yahoo Boys have now translated to becoming murderers, then something is going on, and it's no longer Yahoo.
That's from the Guardian. Here it is, the Metro page, page 12. Let me try to see, because I was just asking myself, what's this got to do with internet
fraud? What
fraud?
Is killing somebody?
Unless, there's something going on there, which is not impossible.
When I read that story, what came to mind was there is still a whole lot more to be done about that story. The information is skeletal, is almost unreliable for now.
So this story says more details emerged yesterday on what led to the death of Miss Dagan Letitia Nankang, an assistant director administration at the State House, who was murdered on Monday night in an apartment by yet to be identified killers. So what's the Yahoo?
How did they know it's Yahoo then?
Okay, so the story goes on to say Nankang, age 47, it was learned was gruesomely murdered by some criminals also known as Yahoo Boys. And they are yet to be identified. It was gathered that the deceased discovered that her neighborhood in Lokogoma area of Abuja was populated by Yahoo Boys, making her uncomfortable in the vicinity. So she confided in her close friends on her plans to relocate. It was also learned that out of concern for her safety, she opted to report them to the police. It was learned that the police, rather than take advantage of the report to ensure that the wrath of the law took its course, later freed the suspects. So this might have been a retaliation, like, you reported us.
It's possible, but we also have to be careful, because the story could generally impugn the police, and I'm not sure that is the way the entire force is. Let's get more details about this, because what this story is essentially saying is that they reported to the police. So the police released the boy and told the boys that this is the woman that reported you, and then they go back at the woman and kill.
But the first paragraph said the killers were yet to be identified. So how do we now?
That's exactly what I mean. But we need much more information about this case. So we have to step carefully about impugning.
I totally agree with you. Let's take it easy and let investigations be concluded. Illegal migration. We may impose tough visa rules on Nigeria coming from the EU.
Because our people.
Union declares Nigerians among top 10 illegal immigrants in Europe. That might be very true. Nigerian criminal network active, says EU, demands solution. When we had Adewuni Galali on the show talking about the US visa restriction, a question was asked about, do you see other nations, taking a cue from the US? And, then he said, no, not exactly. We also asked our guests, they said, not exactly, but hey,
it's coming.
Here we are.
You see, most likely, all these reports will be on the table of most countries. And
they've been following the conversation. Yes. They've been watching.
So US has triggered something. And definitely, there will be other nations who will take steps in those same direction. Though I know we are trying to resolve the US thing. And however we resolve it will also impact how we resolve for all the other people that might have negative reports about Nigerians. Nigerians are doing fantastically well all over the whole place. There's no doubt about that. But there are internal issues of data that we need to kill.
Well, I got a bit distracted. I wasn't planning to talk about this story, but it's on page 3 of the Punch. Police cash in on call data to clamp down on journalists. There was a report, I believe, by Amnesty International titled "Indiscriminate Detention of Endangered Voices: Attack on Freedom of Expression in Nigeria," that talks about 19 journalists, bloggers, and media practitioners who were attacked between January and September 2019. It appeared that conversations and messages on mobile phones are no longer confidential. They become tools. This is what this report, I'm reading this report, they become tools in the hands of law enforcement agents in Nigeria for the purpose of apprehending journalists. So it appears that they reach out to telecoms operators, call out your
There are specific rules for accessing those information. The level of approval required before, I've been involved in trying to get across to Telcom for a kidnap matter before, and I know that those processes are rigorous. So the level of approval that you need before Telco will give you an information about a private conversation is quite high. Unless we're saying that over time that has now been lured and it is just easy for police people to access those.
This report quotes a publication on an arrest of a certain Oliver Fejiro, who writes for Secret Reporters in late 2019. The Premium Times quoted Nigeria's Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, as saying to the telecoms, "I will give you the number used to commit the crime and you have only 60 minutes to provide the details."
It doesn't mean that he still has to do. He still must do the right thing before he can give out those details.
So that is it. In 60 minutes,
yeah, the information is there.
That is if everything had been provided. Like,
so
you need a court.
Let's say it's a court. There must be a judge that signs something. Let's say that is what is required. Once you provide that, the information is right there. The telcos can give you the information. Level of details of information that is available is amazing. They can tell you the radius within which somebody was making a call, because they know the base station that was transmitting that call.
So what happens when we use this to track, you know where I'm going?
Big question.
Boko Haram. So every time I see
Boko
a video,
Haram, kidnaps, all sort of.
every time I see a video from the Boko Haram camp, the last one was attacking Issa Pantami and another man, Shekau was spilling beans on both of them, laughing at them, which means that he follows stories either online or even gets physical newspapers. If there's a video done, it needs internet to share it. So why is it so hard to get where they are to the location?
It's complicated because
it must be complicated.
Yes,
it must be really complicated.
For all you care, a video might be shot inside the bush, given to a dispatch man who takes it to the next town, who gives it to another dispatch man who takes it to another town before it is even broadcast.
And so let's follow that network now. Let's trace. I don't know, but hey, let's talk about the economy before we go. It appears that the World Bank has finally granted our desire. It's on the Daily Sun. World Bank approves $2.2 billion loan for Nigeria. But Abiodun Amosun defer over $250 million World Bank facility. That's from the Punch newspaper. A similar one, excess crude account revenue drops by $253.13 million in February. In February alone. On the Daily Independent, federal government, state, local governments share 643.35 billion naira for January. And right here on The Nation, excess crude accounts drops from $325 million to, $70 million in 1 month.
Excess crude account. Drop mean that we spend money from it or what?
Yeah, we did.
Because the amount that normally accrues to it will have been dropping because oil price has dropped.
But if the account's in there,
the balance that is dropping,
that means we are spending it.
It means that we spent it.
So in 1 month, from $325 million, we now have $70 million left.
The more important question should be, what did we spend it on?
Good question. Good question. You guys go read up what we spend the money. Because I don't know. Let's squeeze in some comments. Let me see if this is behaving properly. And I can squeeze in. No, I think my internet. Okay, let me see. Okay, we have Jamil on Twitter says there are 3 types of Yahoo boys internet fraudsters. Okay, tell me more. Says there are rituals.
Yahoo Plus.
Rituals or secret society. Okay, saying internet fraudsters, rituals or secret society, and hoodlums. They all borrow the name Yahoo Yahoo. Oh, I see. Thank you for explaining that. Joy Forever says this course privatization will backfire. Government would allow private transmission too. Okay, should allow private transmission too. Our planning and implementation are faulty. President says National Assembly is not overpaid. That's absurd. When iron gets to yield point, it breaks. Nigeria is close to that point. There are more messages, but I really do need to go right now. Dr. Mrs. Umale Barra, I see you on Facebook. When we come back, today's World Social Justice Day, and we're asking the question, is there justice? Is there equity? Can there ever be equity? Can we ever all be equal and buy 5 billion naira worth of Toyota cars? Maybe.
It will always be a journey, though.
We are on that journey. Alessa Wilcox joins me just on the other half of 8. That will be on the Morning Crossfire. Well, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We're back in a moment. This is a Morning Crossfire.